distinguished colleagues, friends, and advocates. I want to speak about a moment of profound importance for disability rights in Mexico and around the world. The United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities inquiry into Mexico conducted under Article 6 of the optional protocol of the CRPD. This inquiry is not routine. It is not symbolic. It is an extraordinary mechanism reserved for situations where there is evidence of grave or systematic violation of the Convention. The committee's decision to launch this investigation sent a clear message: the segregation, institutionalization, and exclusion of persons with disabilities in Mexico are not isolated incidents. They are systemic failures that demand urgent action. First, this inquiry brings recognition. For decades, persons with disabilities in Mexico have lived in institutions, often in conditions that violate their dignity, their autonomy, and their most basic human rights. Many have been invisible to society, unheard, and unaccounted. This UN inquiry validates their experiences, it acknowledges the harm they have endured, and it brings their stories into light of international scrutiny. Second, it establishes accountability. The committee's findings make clear that institutionalization in Mexico is not a matter of individual cases. It is a structural problem. It is rooted in discriminatory laws, in the absence of community-based services, and long-standing social attitude that treats institutional care as the default option. The inquiry demands not just policy adjustments, but systemic transformation. And third, it sets a global precedent. It joins a small but growing group of Article 6 investigations that clarify the meaning of the CRPD's core principles, especially the right to independent living and be included in the community. The committee's analysis strengthens global jurisprudence on deinstitutionalization. It reinforces the understanding that segregation is not a social policy choice. It is a human rights violation. So what does this mean for Mexico? The CRPD is clear. States parties must replace institutional models of care and support systems that enable people to live in the community with choices equal to others and control over the support they receive. For Mexico, this means several concrete obligations. It means repealing discriminatory laws, including guardianship regimes that strip people of their autonomy and funnel them into institutions. It means ending institutionalization as a policy and practice. The government must adopt a national deinstitutionalization strategy with clear timelines, budgets, and mechanisms of accountability. This means building a comprehensive network of human rights-based community support. Personal assistance, supported decision-making, accessible housing, inclusive education, and community-based mental health services that respect autonomy. These obligations are not optional. They are not aspirational. They reflect the CRPD's paradigm shift away from a medical and charity model of disability towards a human rights-based model. These implications of this inquiry extend far beyond Mexico's borders. Around the world, millions of children and adults with disabilities remain segregated in institutions, large and small, public and private, old and newly built. This inquiry reinforces several principles that are now unmistakably clear under international law. Institutionalization is incompatible with human rights. Segregating people with disabilities, regardless of the institutional size or stated purpose, violates the CRPD. The institutionalization of children is never justified. Placing a child with disability in an institution, even for care or protection, violates their rights to family life, development, and inclusion. States must dismantle institutional systems, not modernize them. The inquiry rejects the idea that institutions can be improved. The only acceptable path is transition to community-based living. And finally, international oversight is strengthening. As more Article 6 inquiries are conducted, global expectations for compliance with Article 19 become clearer, firmer, and more enforceable. I encourage the government of Mexico to work with the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights to develop the deinstitutionalization plan and to reflect CRPD standards in the development of care and support systems. I particularly bring the attention to the report's considerations of the private sector with the reported 4,000 institution and its transformation under the CRPD and the UN guidelines principles on business and human rights. Institutionalization is not care. The UN inquiry into Mexico is a turning point. It is a call for action, not only for Mexico, but for every country that continues to segregate people with disability behind institutional walls. I thank you all.